Today, we are unpacking one of the most brilliant, most shocking, and, let's be honest, most misunderstood essays ever written, Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal. And if you've ever heard of it, you probably know it for one very disturbing reason.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. Back in 1729, Swift published this essay as a response to the absolutely horrific poverty that was just crushing Ireland. But his solution? Well, it wasn't what anyone expected. It was, to put it mildly, monstrous. Swift actually writes, and yeah, I'm quoting here, "A young, healthy child, well-nursed, is at a year old a most delicious, nourishing, and wholesome food." And he didn't just stop there. Oh no. He laid out the entire plan, recipes, economic projections, the whole 9 yards, which of course leads to one very obvious question. I mean, seriously, for nearly 300 years, this has been the question at the heart of the whole thing. Was Jonathan Swift, a respected dean and writer, actually genuinely advocating for cannibalism? Well, let's just cut right to the chase and put your mind at ease. No, absolutely not. Not even close. Swift was not promoting cannibalism. He was doing something so much more clever and way more critical. He was using a very powerful literary weapon. You see, Swift's essay is a masterpiece of satire. The whole cannibalism thing isn't a suggestion. It's this extreme, completely outrageous exaggeration that's designed to shine a huge, bright light on a very real and very cruel problem. So if it's not actually about eating babies, what in the world is it about? Think of the proposal as a kind of tool, a device to force his readers to see a truth that they were all trying really hard to ignore. Swift is building this layered argument, and the cannibalism, that's just the shocking surface level. So here's the crucial point, this idea of metaphorical cannibalism. Swift is basically screaming that, in reality, the rich were already consuming the poor. You had landlords devouring their tenants with impossibly high rents, and you had England itself feeding on Ireland's resources and its people. The literal proposal just makes that brutal metaphor shockingly, uncomfortably visible. Now, this is where it gets really clever, how he pulls it all off. First, he uses hyperbole, just pure exaggeration. He takes the cold, detached economic thinking of his day and pushes it to its most horrifying and, logical conclusion. Then there's the stylistic contrast. He describes this absolute horror using calm, reasonable, mathematical language. It's chilling. And finally, he perfectly imitates the political pamphlets of the time to show how that very style of reasonable discussion can be used to justify the most monstrous ideas. And that calm, rational tone, it's a trap. It's really a test for the reader. Swift is basically asking, how can you listen to something so horrible described so calmly? At what point does your own humanity just scream, stop? He's taking a shot at how easily we can sanitize cruelty with our words. But look, this wasn't just him showing off how smart he was. Buried deep beneath all that shock and horror, Swift actually had a real point to make. He had real ideas. So how does he finally show his hand? Well, after spending pages and pages on his grotesque plan, he kind of casually mentions, almost like it's an afterthought, that there are other, real solutions people have been ignoring for years. And here they are. These were his real proposals. Fair rents, compassion, education, justice, basic human decency. By presenting these humane solutions after his horrifying satirical one, he's shaming his audience. He's pointing out that these simple moral fixes were there all along, but society just didn't have the will to actually do them. So when you put it all together, the whole purpose of A Modest Proposal becomes crystal clear. It's not a plan, it's a mirror. This line just sums it up perfectly. Swift isn't asking you to agree with him, he's forcing you to look at a reflection of your own society's cruelty, just magnified to a scale that you can no longer possibly ignore. So, the ultimate takeaway is this. Swift's essay is a full-on attack on any system, any way of thinking that reduces human beings to mere numbers on a spreadsheet, to products in an economic equation. It's a timeless warning against losing our humanity in the name of cold, hard logic. And that leaves us with one final thought, one to really chew on. Swift wrote this almost 300 years ago, but his method feels as sharp and relevant as ever. It really makes you wonder, if he were writing today, what modern injustice, what accepted cruelty would be the target of his next modest proposal?